Hello and welcome in to my Week 4 ALGS Power Rankings for NA. I won't be spending a lot of time on the teams that did not play this week unless there was a major change with them. I apologize for getting this video out later than usual. I was dealing with an illness earlier in the week that made recording difficult, but I do hope I sound okay now. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the rankings, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting us off, we're going to have Tier 6, which is worse than a console gold squad. And at number 30, the first team in this tier is going to be Temper after a 19th place performance, even from last week. Finally, they didn't get last. They got a point because of the obviously horrible performance by Skirt this last week, but sadly, it's not enough to move them up above the next team on our list. And that team is going to be the Oversleepers, coming in at number 29, even from last week after not playing this week. And those are the only two teams in our Tier 6. So moving into Tier 5, we have the Bottom Feeders. The first of those at number 28 is going to be Cream, even from last week after a 17th place finish in this week's games. They went 3-0 on Skirt in C-Note, or C-Note, but sadly there was nothing else positive on the week. Then we have EEC at 27th after a 16th place finish, even from last week as well. They're sadly not a great team. They're a predictable PSQ one and done. We've seen it before, and I'm moving on. And next is EVY at 26th, down one spot from last week, even though they did not play. Now moving into 25 is a team that should not be this low based on their team on paper, but sadly they are. It's Skirt after a 20th place finish in this week's Pro League, down 9 spots from last week, the largest faller of the week. They ended with 4 total points. Not that they have 4 total points on the season, but they had like 4 points, and you get 1 point for an elimination. So yeah, they couldn't rat to one top 8 finish. That's pretty sad performance, honestly. The highlight, or I guess the low light of their week, was their 0-3 to Cream at Cenote performance. What happened to the team that was up on LG in contests? I mean, they were winning that contest even when they left. They were still up overall, and that team has just disappeared. I had high hopes for them, but they're extremely underperforming so far. Alb needs to figure out a team comp and stop trying to innovate. There's a lot of really similar problems to his phase team. I don't know if you guys remember that with Snipe Down and was that Slurpee G? I don't even know who the third person was really. But yeah, that team obviously had a lot of struggles trying to constantly change things week in, week out. I mean, they're the first team to ever perform worse on a week than Temper. I don't even know how you do that. And then also another every single thing just seems negative, negative, negative. Alberlelli was testing out controller in scrims the last couple days. I think it's a horrible decision. That's not the problem on the team. I don't know why he thinks that's the problem, or that's the issue, is that he's on the worse input, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. They need to figure something out quickly, but I think it's already too late for them. Okay, I know that one was a long one, so we'll try to get through the next few pretty quickly. Should breeze by a couple of these. So at 24, we have Native, down 1 spot from last week after a 14th place finish. They just need to keep ratting. It's honestly the only thing they're working. If they aren't ratting on a team, they're not getting points, and I don't know why they think that's the only one. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. It's a good strategy. It works, I think more teams should be doing that. But they do it every game, regardless of whether or not it's the right call. Like, it's their only play. They play more like the average scared ranked team than they do a Pro League team. Then at 23, we have Oblivion, down 8 spots after a 15th place finish. I think I just had them too high, so they're dropping 8 isn't necessarily performance from this week, although they did place 15th, which is not good. But but they've just looked like an average PSQ team so far in Pro League. Um, Instead of the team that I thought they were, they just need to improve their fighting power drastically. Okay, now moving into tier 4, we have the exciting but unserious tier. And the first of that tier is going to be DNO at 22. Even from last week after a 10th place performance. You know, it's a middle of the pack performance, middle of the pack day, but I think mediocre is too kind of a descriptor for them. They've been bad, you know, this whole time. They have most of their points that I've seen at least has been from just the lucky like not getting focused plays, or they have one guy survive and rat to a top 6 or 5 whatever finish on a game. It's not from being a good team though. It's just from luckily picking up a few scraps here and there. Next we have the Gaiman Gladiators, formerly Flat, coming in at 21, up 5 spots after an 11th place finish in this last week's Pro League. They had a game 1 win, which obviously started them off at an extremely high note. And then sadly, it didn't go as well after that as they dealt with power outages. And 2 of the members on this team, I think it's Louis and Nano, I believe, are brothers. So obviously, you know, power outage at their house, they live together. Made it to where Zaire had to play like 2 games by himself. So yeah, I mean that's, you know, obviously the worst case scenario basically. So they could have had a much better day in better circumstances. Obviously, I used to have them a lot higher in my power rankings. So if they keep performing like they did, you know, outside of the power issues, then they're gonna shoot up my rankings. Then at number 20, we have 9 Lives down 1 spot after they didn't play this week. And moving on to 19, we have GKS up 5 spots after a 5th place performance in the week 4. I mean, this performance really gave their season a chance. You know, like they were pretty low in the rankings, pretty low in the overall standings. But after a 5th place performance, if they keep, you know, turning it back up, they can definitely have at least a shot to make LAN. Really, Naughty is just carrying this team with his IGL performance. He's looking like borderline top 5 IGL, at least in NA right now. So that's a really good look for them. Then we have the Sentinels at 18th, up 2 spots after they didn't play this week. And then 1 spot above them, we have FaZe coming in at 17th, down 4 spots after an 18th place performance. It's a terrible day. Obviously, they couldn't consistently beat Temper on contests. And Temper is Temper. I mean, obviously that had a big impact on Temper not finishing dead last. They finished 19th instead. But still, I mean, FaZe at 18th. And then, obviously, Panders, I guess, has arthritis now. So it's just bad, worse. You know, nothing looks good for them right now. It's obvious that, you know, the organization FaZe signed the wrong team. Now moving into our tier 3 LAN contenders tier. The first of these teams is going to be DIG at 16th, up 5 spots from last week after a 13th place performance. They're more up 5 just because of a lot of fallers dropping past them. And then I think I might have had them a little too low last week. Not really sure. But I think they did underperform overall, even though they are going up 5 spots. I know it sounds kind of weird. But they just could not get into many end games this week. And that's kind of how they get their points, you know. They're not a big 3v3 fighting team. So they've just been super inconsistent so far. If they could just take some of these really bad games that they have and just pick up, you know, 2-3 points here or there, I think they could be a top 10 team right now. Moving on to number 15, we have Meat up 2 spots after they didn't play. Then at 14, we have Ape Gang up 7 spots after a 7th place performance. I think they're a top 5 team in Pro League right now in the standings. Double check me on that, and I know they have played 3 games, obviously, but still, I mean, a lot of other really good teams have played 3 games that aren't above them. They had a great final game. Obviously, that game six win that saved their day overall. But even regardless, they had a solid day, and they've been proving me wrong all season. So good for them. Then at 13, we have Legacy down 3 spots after not playing this week. Other teams just deserve to jump them in the rankings. And number 12, we have Complexity, even from last week after an 8th place performance. I've really started to root for this team. They're the easiest team to root for, I think, in the league right now, as they have the best passion out of any of the teams. And you just love rooting for teams that really, really want it. It's like the underdog in March Madness. Those teams that are super passionate or the teams that are like robotic. They're used to winning. You want to see the team that's super passionate, that putting their whole heart on the line, blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, and that's Complexity. Then at number 11, one of those teams that deserve to jump up over Legacy is going to be Space Station Gaming, formerly PLP, after a third place performance, jumping up 3 spots this week. They're continuing to prove me wrong. Obviously, I had them way too low. They figured out their mentals so far. Obviously, they did start off pretty slow, which I said was going to happen. But they've rebounded a lot better than I thought they would. And is it strange that I feel like they're easier to root for under the org SSG, or is that just me? Then we have Furia coming in at number 10, down 1 spot after not playing this week. And at number 9, we have Optic, down 4 spots after a ninth place performance. It's weird seeing them drop this far after maybe their best game so far in the season, but I just can't. I'm seeing the same old problems every single week. They can't get into end games. They never seem comfortable. It seems like they need a support legend on their team, but who plays them? And then who do you blame when things keep going wrong? It's just one of those teams. Reminds me, funnily enough, of that SSG team from a few years ago when, obviously they had a ton of talent on that team. What was that team? Was it Dropped, Frexis, and I don't remember the third. But, obviously they were great players, but it's like something's just not working. You can't consistently keep being like, yeah, we're a top 10 team, but we're never the best team. And it seems like that might be the way Optic's going. Then a team that also had their best game on the season, but a lot better than ninth place finish. A first place finish this week from Oxygen brings their team up 3 spots to 8th in my rankings. Finally, this is what I wanted to see the whole season. Teamwork, passion, coming alive. This team seems locked in for the first time on the season. They consistently looked like a top team each game. Like every single game, it was like, oh, even if Oxygen died, let's say in 14th, 15th spot or something, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a spot where any other team would have gone down there, not just Oxygen. They didn't play that poorly. They just, there was nothing else they could have done. I really wish they got the first bonus point on the season. I was really hoping it was going to happen. Sadly, they lost that 3v3 fight to Ape Gang at the very end there, which I think they should have won too. I'm not really sure how they lost that. But other than that, basically a flawless week from OXG. Now, moving into Tier 2, we have the Landlocks. This is going to be a lot smaller than previous weeks. There's a lot less teams up here just because I'm less confident in, teams like OXG or Optic or, just teams that have fallen out of here. But the first of these teams is going to be XSET, down 1 spot after not playing this last week. They come in at number 7. And then at number 6, 1 spot above them, we have DSG up 1 spot after not playing. I know it's kind of strange that both of these teams didn't play, and I decided to flip them. Just thinking more about it, I've just seen more from DSG that at least, this team can perform at least. XSET just hasn't shown that to me yet. Then at number 5, we have LG down 2 spots after a 12th place performance. They could have had a great day if not for a Game 6 throw. I think Sweet got crabered by DZ. And then DZ went on to have a top 5 finish that game. If they would have just, played safe, stayed alive, right there and then played it the same way DZ would have played that, because they had the advantage in that fight. They probably would have ended top 4 or so on the week instead of 12, which is huge. Now, moving into tier 1, we have our LAN favorites. And the first of this tier is going to be E8 at number 4, up 4 spots after a 4th place finish. I didn't mean to put that many 4s, didn't realize I did till just now. But Zach Mazer, I mean, minimum, he's the 4th best IGL in NA. We have Zero, we have Hal, we have Sweet, and we have Zach Mazer. Like, that's top 4. Then I probably put Naughty at 5 right now. He's IGLing out of his mind. No one wants to face this team in 3v3s. They're getting to end games. They're rotating well. They're not taking dumb fights. Like, the team chemistry looks great. This is a scary, scary team. Then up 1 spot, we have Moist at number 3 after they didn't play this week. It's strange, a team that jumped up a spot to number 3 after not playing. Just, LG had to drop after their disappointing week. Then at number 2, we have TSM, even from last week after a 6th place performance. They had a pretty quiet day, but it was, they were solid basically every single game to get a 6th place finish. Just didn't have that one big pop off game that's going to, that match day or that match win that's going to shoot you up to like a 1st or a 2nd spot on the week. But you consistently get top 6s, you're going to make LAN. And, in a week with better zone polls for them, they'll do fine. And finally, our number 1 overall team, even from last week after a 2nd place performance. This week, we have Dark Zero. They tilted in Game 6. Zero was making them run around. They were playing, Bloodhound Horizon instead of Conduit, but they weren't stupid. And that's the important part. When you see these teams getting upset and you see these teams wanting to run everything down, the good teams, they'll still do it. It'll still happen. It's almost a good thing every now and then to be able to have that release in Pro Day and just start running things down. But they're not dumb about it. Like they had the fight in the tunnel that they didn't take in Game 6, ended up wrapping all the way around, got that Kraber knock on Sweet, pushed in, collected that KP, and then moved into zone with that free rotate. Some of the worst teams on our list would have just taken that fight in tunnel, pushed through, thrown their game, and then, dropped from a top 4, top 3 finish or whatever down to like 8th, 9th, similar to what happened to LG this week. 2nd place finish with no game wins. Obviously, is really good, just consistent top 7s. This is the best team in Pro League, I think, by a pretty good margin. As of right now, it looks like they're going to do it again. It's gonna tie up the LAN wins with Hal and Zero, and that'll be the storyline moving into Split 2. Now, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know, you might not think so, but I really do. Even if you just view, you don't like, you don't comment, you don't subscribe, I still appreciate the view, sticking to the end. Although I did mention it, a comment, a like, a subscribe, a share would go an extremely long way in getting this video in front of other ALGS fanatics and helping grow my channel, which is the one way we can ensure that these videos keep getting made. Anyway, I appreciate all of you for sticking around to the end of the video, and until next time, peace.